everyone, welcome back to the Outpouring. Hopefully you've been following with us on Sunday and Monday. We've been talking about vision, and I'm actually going to go a little bit deeper and give you a little bit of a different perspective on the Bible verse from Habakkuk that we were studying yesterday, that I hope will minister to you. So just as a refresher, let's read it again. The Lord answered and said to me, "Write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold the proud, his soul is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." When I hear this, it reminds me of something very clear. If you're Jewish or you're Messianic, maybe it reminds you too. The center of this verse talks about the vision not tarrying and to wait for it. This reminds me of Maimonides' 12th principle of faith, which reads, "I believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah. Even though he tarry, nonetheless I will wait expectantly for his coming." For those of you who don't know who Maimonides is, he was a famous rabbi, probably the most famous next to Yeshua, and he lived during the 12th century. He was a rabbi, a physician, a philosopher, an astronomer. He was probably one of those genius type peoples, even though they didn't have tests for that back then. His most famous work was actually called the Mishnah Torah. And what he did was he codified the Mishnah, the explanations of the rabbis on the different laws within the Bible. This work was so monumental that it is still being used today, almost 1,000 years later. So he basically codified and made kind of a concordance, so to speak. So if someone was studying a particular topic, they would be able to find the different references and the different rabbinical opinions regarding that topic. So he made scholarship within Judaism much easier. He did so, when we're talking about vision as well, he did so hundreds of years even before the Gutenberg printing press even existed. So clearly Maimonides had a vision for the work that he had painstakingly done, that it would outlast even him. So Maimonides also wrote the 13 principles of faith within Judaism. And that's basically his understanding of the basic principles of Judaism, of all Jewish people, that you have to believe these 13 things. Now, even though Maimonides wasn't a believer, some of his principles are very biblical, and as Messianics we employ them today. So you may have heard this statement on Rosh Hashanah, when we are hoping and praying and believing that the Lord is going to return at the last trump. And so I'm going to read to you his 12th principle of faith one more time. "I believe with perfect faith in the coming of the Messiah, and even though he tarry, nonetheless I will wait expectantly for his coming." This really amazed me because I think that Maimonides, I don't know if he intended this, but he made a connection between Habakkuk and Habakkuk's understanding of what vision is, and to pray for the vision, and to trust that the vision will not tarry, and Messiah, because we also pray that he won't tarry, that he will come at just the right time. And so when I thought about that connection together, I said, I wonder what it would be like if we read the verse in Habakkuk with Messiah in it, to give it a little bit of a different perspective. So I want to read that to you. "Then the Lord answered and said to me, Write the vision of Messiah and make it plain on tablets, that he may run to the Messiah who reads it. For the vision of Messiah is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though he tarries, wait for him, because he will surely come. Messiah will not tarry long. Behold the proud, his soul is not upright in him, but the just shall live by the faith of the Messiah." Isn't that awesome? So when I thought about that, and I thought about the connections of those two things, I even was reminded of a song, of a hymn that maybe you've heard before, about Yeshua, about the Messiah, which is called "Be Thou My Vision." And so, isn't it interesting how there is very clearly a connection between vision and the Messiah? So why is this the case? Why is there a connection between vision and Messiah? When we think about the purpose of a vision as a whole, vision is supposed to get us one step closer in our goal. So when we understand vision in the context of being a believer, we understand that God is illuminating something to us to get us just one step closer to his heart, to allowing just one more thing to happen that would minister to people, that would bring the kingdom of Messiah to pass. And so when we understand vision as a whole, therefore we understand that the ultimate purpose of vision is to get us closer and closer and closer to the kingdom of Messiah, whenever that may be. So when we think about vision and we think about Messiah, we want the same thing to happen. We want to not have the vision or Messiah to tarry. We want them both to come at their appropriate, set, appointed time. Messiah, just like a vision, is someone we run to. We run to him because we know he's the source for all things. And a vision is a centering point. It's what keeps us focused so that we can make it to the end. Yeshua's goal for us, for our lives, and the empowerment of the Holy Spirit is exactly to do that, to keep us focused so that we can make it to the end. So oftentimes believers are frustrated by the things of the world. We have problems upon problems, and we're just trying to sort of make it through, muddle through toward sometimes the bad decisions that we've made in our lives, and sometimes just the circumstances that have kind of happened upon us, so to speak, even if we've done everything right. And I kind of get the feeling sometimes that when people die at the end of their lives, whenever that may be, because God has appointed time for everyone's birth and death, whenever that may be, when someone dies, a lot of times we look at it as though they're just slowly limping across that finish line, so to speak. It doesn't seem like the people are leaving this earth, that the believers are leaving this earth with koach, with strength, knowing that you have accomplished all that God had set before you, and feeling at peace and at comfort knowing that. I find a lot of times it just feels very sad and just very depressing in a lot of ways. That there has been very few times in my life where I really have felt that when someone from the Lord passes away, that it's looked at like they've run their race, they've done all that they could do, they made the best of their life and of their circumstances. A lot of times it just feels a little bit like they got sick and they got sicker and then they passed away, or they got old and they got older and they just slowly passed away in their room watching TV. And that's just so frustrating for me. And I want to share with you a story, something that God brings to my remembrance all the time. If you've ever seen the movie Schindler's List, which it's very hard for me to watch Holocaust movies, they just really affect my spirit very much. I just have a sensitivity. But when watching that movie at the end, when Schindler realizes that his ring or his jewels or anything he had, even the smallest littlest thing, could have bought one more Jew, could have, helped one more person work in his factory, could have saved one more person. He literally weeps at the end because he knows he could have done more. God brings that back to my remembrance many times, because sometimes I feel frustrated as a person that maybe I'm not accomplishing enough, maybe I'm not doing enough. And I'm not saying that in a spirit of condemnation. I'm saying that because I recognize that we are here for such a short time. And I want to be the person that everybody around me, whenever I pass away, says, Kim ran her race, she made the most of her life, and she is not limping across the finish line to go meet her Messiah. She is going with strength. She's going with power from on high. She knows that she's going to get that brass ring that is Messiah Yeshua. She's going to go into the arms of the Father and just leap into his arms. And I want somebody to say that about me. And so when I think about vision and when I think about Messiah, I think about the connection between those two things. A vision is there to center us, to help give us focus, to make it to the end. Yeshua is what we see at the end. He's the daddy who's sitting there with his arms open wide, come jump to me. And so I think that the ultimate end of all of our visions, in a big sense as believers, always needs to be Messiah at the end. Messiah is the one that we run to. He's the Word that's made flesh. He's the one who tarries, but we wait for him. And so when I think about that in the connection of vision, I want to remind you of that. For those of you who God has given a very clear vision, to remember that the end of all those visions needs to be people coming to Messiah, people coming to truth, people coming to revelation, because that's ultimately the purpose of the vision. We want people to wait expectantly for the vision that is Messiah, who is going to come at the appointed time always to minister to you, to your family, to your needs, in the name of Yeshua. So I just wanted to encourage you to forget not all the benefits of the Lord, to write down the visions and the things that he has given to you, that he has spoken to you, that he wants to minister to you. I personally have started to write down the milestones of our congregation. And every time someone gets a word from the Lord or an event happens, I write them down. And I made a video at the end of the year just outlining all those different points where God met us. And every time I do it, it brings a tear to the eyes of the people who watch it, because we forget so easily of all the times God has given us those little visions all along the way. We forget. And God has put in, through the Jewish holidays, through the Feast of the Lord, mentioned in Leviticus, those appointed times throughout the year where we can look back and see all the places where God has met us where we are. That is so extremely important for us to have that point where we look back and see where God has brought us. Because if not, we're just going in our lives, and we don't really pay attention to what the Lord is really telling us. But when you look back and you have all of those marked times, all those places of the visions that God has fulfilled in due season, you know you can make it to the end. There's no question in your mind about it. You know you can make it because he has met you where you are every step of the way. So for us as believers, the Lord wants us to remember all of his benefits. And the devil will come and he will try to steal those little visions from you. Steal those times when God has spoken to you, so that you look and you're in the middle of a frustrating circumstance and you feel like, oh, who can help me? Who can get me out of this? Who can part the seas? But when you look back and you see all of the little times and the big times God has done so, you can encourage yourself. And so I want to say, as a practical point for you to take with you today, write down, start today, start this year, write down all the little times, no matter how small, you've prayed for something, you've asked for something, that God has spoken something to your heart to go minister to this person, and the Lord met you there. All those little visions, all of them throughout this year, and go back and look at it at the beginning of next year. I promise you, without a doubt, you will be in tears at the end of next year. There is no question about it, because the Lord is amazing. There's a Bible verse that I'm sure many of you know that says, in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. The truth of the matter is we don't acknowledge him in all of our ways. We forget God most of the time. And we come before him and we pray daily, weekly, monthly, however often you pray. And we ask the Lord to remember us. Remember us in our suffering. Remember us in our family members who don't yet know him. Remember us. But how often are you remembering him? How often are you holding the vision in your heart? How often are you writing it down and making it plain? How often are you looking to it that you may run to the Messiah and know that he will not tarry? He will be with you right when he needs to be. That the vision of the Messiah will not lie. It will come to pass in your life, and the just will live by faith in the Messiah. How often do you do that? So I'm encouraging to you this day, please be mindful to do that, because the Lord wants to encourage your faith. He wants to help you make it to the end. And this is one way that he can help you to do that. To remember all of his benefits and forget not one of them. Because the Lord is faithful. He cannot deny himself. He's always faithful. So please, I encourage you to do this. And I look forward to the comments that are going to come forth from the people who have done this before and the people who are just starting it now. I look forward to the comments in the coming year as you look back, because there is a very clear connection between the vision for your life, because of the vision for the people around you, and the Messiah in your life as well. He's the one that we run to, and the vision is the center point that helps us make it to the end, to run into the arms of our Messiah Yeshua, who is waiting for us. So I hope you are encouraged on this Tent Tuesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, we are going to do Hebrew Word Wednesdays, and we are going to study this word vision, chazon, and I'm going to show you how it reveals even more of the Messiah. So don't miss it. God bless you.